So, welcome to The Real Build. I am your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder, and today I have a guest coming from nearby St. Petersburg, Florida. He has been a public adjuster since 2008. Prior to that, he graduated from the University of South Florida in 2002, Gold Bulls. I'm an alumni myself. He has two daughters, Amelia and Piper, and tries to spend as much time with them as possible, which is so important. He believes that we are on this earth to help each other and takes great pride in the amount of people his company collectively helps. Andrew Gordan, welcome to The Real Build. I'm happy to have you on, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing really great. Thank you, Bill. Thank you for having me on. It's a real pleasure to be on your podcast. So thank you for the invite.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I have not had anybody in your field, and it's such an important topic. Me doing my research on you and your company and everything too. I've actually learned a lot, and I know. I mean, this is going to be so important to my audience, especially with the things and events that have been going on as far as tornadoes, hurricanes, stuff like that. So this is all so important. So I mean, thank you for taking your time. Really appreciate it.
Well,
So I like to get started out with asking about everybody's background. So let's talk about who is Andrew Gordan.
sure. I grew up on the East Coast, so I am a true Floridian, which means that I'm used to the hot. It's a Floridian thing, but I grew up on the East Coast, and I went to USF, like you said. I graduated in '02. When I went over to Tampa, I really liked it. So I graduated and I got a job with Wells Fargo Financial right out of college and stayed in this area. I spent about 8 years or so in finance and real estate, doing mortgages for individuals. And then a friend of mine introduced me to public adjusting. My background really is that as a kid, I wanted to be an attorney. No, actually, I wanted to be a judge. I wanted to skip attorney and go straight to just deciding guilty, not guilty, and from there. But they said you had to be an attorney first. That wasn't my path. Law school, business school was more of my path. But when my friend introduced me to this field, I really took to it. It's the closest thing that I can do to represent somebody legally. In fact, that's what we can do. We advocate for policyholders, so we're legally allowed to represent somebody. It's just we have to represent them within the confines of the policy. Instead, what an attorney does, represent them within the confines of the court system. So when he introduced me to this, I loved it, and that was at the end of 2008. So I've been doing this ever since.
Nice. And first off, being a USF grad myself, I mean that's awesome to hear right there. Great school, love it too. So awesome to have a fellow alumni in my presence. And no,
I started there, Bill, real quick. I started the first year they had a football team.
Oh, really?
So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I've got tickets to them all the time. Got to go root on the Bulls.
Oh yeah. No, I love rooting for them. I feel like we always start out great, and then something towards we kind of it's just a downward spiral towards the end. But one day they'll get there. It's hard. Everybody asks me who's my favorite college team. Are you Gators fan? Are you this? And I'm like, oh, I'm a Bulls fan, but just wait for that 1 year, So, but that's awesome.
We did get to number 2.
Yeah, I was there that year too. So.
Right? Okay. See.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a fun year.
That was fun.
And then also, I mean, and everybody I've had on this show too, I love to hear about their path and kind of their story into where they got. A lot of people, they had it in their mind since day one, and other people, they kind of were like, they went out to do something, and then their path kind of went a different direction, and it ended up benefiting them. And you are similar to that story, to where you had something in mind, and I was the same way. I mean, I've told my story as far as growing up in construction. I hated it. I actually did a post about it. I hated construction just because, being a laborer and digging ditches and doing that kind of stuff too. It was a love-hate thing, but you you learn so much along that pathway that you end up kind of being where you are today too. And that seems like what happened with your story as well.
It is, and I'm really just grateful that I found something that I liked doing, and I don't think everybody gets that opportunity. So it's even though I found it later in life, I hope that I would have found this maybe right out of high school, something like that. But at least I found it with enough time to help people, which is great, and bring on people to my team, which is great.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And just so people know, because there's a lot of uncertainty with what you do. So, what
Yeah.
is exactly a public adjuster? What do you guys do? Who are you?
Yeah. There's actually three kinds of licensed adjusters: insurance adjusters who work solely for one insurance company, a independent adjuster who work for multiple insurance companies, but they still work for insurance companies. And we're the third type. We're public adjusters. We do the same thing that the independent adjuster and the insurance adjuster does, which is we determine coverage and we determine the cost to cure. It's opinions, but they're what we deem is the right numbers. And then we simply work with the other adjusters, the independent or the insurance, but we solely represent homeowners, business owners, policyholders. And so our adjusting is that we will advocate for the policyholder. And I know there's some stuff that we'll probably get into later about that, but in essence, to keep it simple, and we're simply advocates for the homeowners. We get a lot of calls from the website because, like you said, a lot of people just don't know about our field. We don't have those Morgan and Morgan billboards out there, or no public adjuster really has these commercials. There's simply not a lot of us. If you compare the number of adjusters to, say, real estate agents in Florida, it's minuscule. It's a tiny percentage. So we're just not the numbers. And the state limits how many public adjusters there can be also. It's super interesting, the behind the scenes stuff on it, because you can become an independent adjuster or an insurance adjuster like that. You take a test, you're done. You're done. You find a place to work. But you actually have to be an apprentice for 6 months if you want to be a public adjuster. So the state gets your independent adjuster license, and then you have to get appointed with a public adjusting firm, and then 6 months with that firm, then you become a licensed public adjuster. And they limit how many a firm like mine can have, the state, I mean. So I can have, as an adjuster, one apprentice at a time, and I'm allowed as a company to have up to 4 adjusters at a time. And that's it. But those are what some of the adjusting info.
No, I love that because personally, I think they should limit realtors. I mean, like you said, I think, I think real estate agents. There's probably more of those than anything in the state of Florida. I always jokingly say everybody that moves to Florida gets their real estate license.
That's it. You've got it. It's a prereq.
And see, but with you, I highly agree with how things, I never knew that. Obviously, I don't know a lot about your profession and everything. That's why you're on this show. But you know, the apprentice program, that is awesome right there. I mean, I think the state of Florida and any state should do that with a lot of things, because you can go get a license and still not have a clue with what you're doing. And I always talk about with like real estate too. There's a lot of realtors out there that don't have a clue, and you're dealing with such you're dealing with a lot of money. I mean, you're dealing with a big investment and important things with people's lives, and a lot of them just they don't know how to go about the transaction or help somebody, or there's different things you can do that an experienced agent has. So you should. And I have people ask me all the time. They'll message me or DM me on Instagram, and they'll say, "Hey, man, thinking about getting my real estate license. What should I do?" And I say, go work for somebody for a little bit, follow them around, see if you can work for a broker for free. I'm a big believer in that. When I first got into real estate, I had a mentor. He's my broker still to this day. I still have questions for him. I've been doing this 9 years. real estate, and even in construction. I mean, I grew up in construction. I still have questions with, there's new stuff that pops up, new codes, new things that, and it's the same with construction too. There's a lot of people that I know that went out and got their GC license, and they've never built a house or worked in the field in in their lives. They're book smart. Reading books versus actual reality out in the field is a whole different ball game. A lot happens out in the field, and if you don't know what's going on or how the process works, you're going to run into some major issues. And the people that you're building the house for, God bless them, because there's going to be stuff that was missed, and they're going to have to deal with it after they buy that house. And as you know, stuff on in Florida, and depending where you're at too, but down here isn't cheap. So I love and I think that should be in a lot of professions, but unfortunately, it's not.
No, and you're talking about the written aspect of things. That's only a bit of the foundation, right, for what you know and what you should know to help your clients out. So we have to teach. We have to give the real world life, experiences for how to get these settled. None of that's in the book.
Hmm. No, that's awesome. So I want to go to the next thing. So let's discuss a little bit more how you got started in public adjusting. You kind of brushed on it in the intro here, but what was your reason you chose being a public adjuster over some of the other industries? And you highlighted this. Let's go deeper.
Yeah, I would. The answer is timing. I think that everything is good timing or bad timing. When I was in '06, when I was in the finance industry, in the real estate industry, in the mortgage industry, that's when things started to crumble. I humbly joke now that I helped hundreds of people realize their American dream of foreclosure by helping them get mortgages they couldn't afford. But I was just doing what I was uh, paid to do as a mortgage representative, and people simply, when things went down, couldn't afford. And so I started to look at other industries. I mean, really, the company I was with, I was on a real uptake, as a lot of people were in that field when things were going really good. And I simply got an email one day saying, "Hey, it's Friday. Don't come in Monday. We're closed." So I had to search for what to do. And I bounced, like a lot of people did, to another similar company. I was there for a few months. They shut their doors. And then I had to literally switch fields. Like, this is not the right field for me at the time. And so what I ended up doing is going to work for similar industries. Like, I went to work for a bank, and then I went to work for um, a different field, a website optimization company. And I dipped my toe in a couple things that I had been wanting to do for a while, but had taken this path that I was on before. None of that worked out. And then I got a phone call from the friend of mine that I had known saying, "Hey, this is an opportunity. I'm over here now doing adjusting, and I think you might like it, and take a look into it." So it was really through timing of having a great job where the industry went sour, and then having to search for something. And I would say, in retrospect, what I've realized is that what I was doing right out of college and for those first 6 to 8 years was I was going to the jobs that I could get paid the most at. I mean, yeah, it was rewarding making money, but the field itself, it wasn't like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I'm doing this." It was just, okay, I'm supporting myself, and I was wanted a family, so I wanted to save some money and things like that. Uh, Now I realize that luckily I simply found the profession that I was supposed to do. I think that we can't buy student loans and buy bills, and that, "Oh, we have to find something, we have to work, and let's take the next job." And I did that like everybody else. And through timing of things going sour very quickly, I guess I just stumbled on this. So thank you, Alush, for finding this for us.
That's all. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like we talked about, it's amazing how things happen and take place and so on like that, and it just you fall into the right path. I mean, and when you know. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people, and I've talked about this in the past. A lot of people are doing in careers that they're not happy with, and if you're not happy with your career, you're never going to get further in it or get further ahead in it, because how could you? I mean, if you're not happy, what's going to push you, even further? Like I'm sure, obviously, with you and growing the company and so on too, and trying to better everybody within your company. If you didn't like what you were doing, that wouldn't be happening.
No, our like I had a previous boss that I took what I could from each boss and whatnot, and his thing was number one is always have fun. Whatever you do, have fun, which is a strange business rule number one, but I think that's what you have to. You have to enjoy what you do.
No,
Otherwise, you're not going to help your clients out the best. Like, our job is to help them out. And if we're not enjoying what we do, we're just not going to do it well.
no, yeah, I highly agree because it's like with me with building too. I talk about it in my story and stuff too. Is that I just love to see the product. I love to help people. I love to guide people, even if they have budgets. I know what way. There's always something in the construction industry, especially in custom home building, that you have to be on your toes constantly. Like after me and you are done here, I got to deal with. I'm even with real estate. I got to deal with finance a guy I know a lot, and then I got another customer that I'm dealing with on a build design right after that. That I have a phone call with an architect. So I'm always moving, and everything's always. But I love that too because no day's the same. It's not your typical 9 to 5 where you go in, you sit at your cubicle, you sit stare at a computer screen all day, and that's it. It's literally every day is different, and that's what I love about what I do too. So, and I'm sure the same thing with you being an adjuster.
I'm an other side of the desk kind of guy. I don't like being behind the desk. I find that like through this corona where I was quarantining myself, I would just go on a drive here and there because I just can't be confined at this desk. I need to be in someone's home inspecting or in a mediation helping them at negotiating. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I was the same way. I had to go for a walk. I couldn't stay in the house. I had to keep moving. So, you have said that your goal is to make sure your clients receive all the money they deserve from their insurance carrier. So,
Um,
you obviously brushed on what you exactly do, but how are you doing this?
I tell everybody, we never get the insurance company to pay more than they owe. That's not possible. But there is what I refer to as a realm of fairness. Being in construction, you understand that you're going to get different bids. You hire four contractors to come out, you'll get four numbers. So what the tough part about our profession, what we deal with is there's no exacts, is that there's ranges of what the carrier should pay. And our job is to properly advocate for the client. And really the insurance company is supposed to make the client whole again. So that just simply looks different to different people. And the process is different to different people. To give one quick example, might be just a leaky air conditioner. So in your room, to keep something small, as an example, you have a water stain, maybe a foot in diameter in the ceiling. You might get someone that could just say, you know what, if you just paint over that, you're going to be fine. You won't even notice it. Don't worry about it. But someone else could come in on the other extreme and say, no, you got to remove that drywall. You got to replace some of that. You have to retexture the whole ceiling so it matches. So you've got this. One says 100, and then one says 1,000. We have to get them enough money so they can actually get it fixed. But the carrier is going to say, well, this guy said 100. Why would we pay more than 100? It's arguing for the proper method is what we do. The carrier has to put together an estimate for the costs. The state requires that we put together an estimate also. So our estimate is itemized like the carrier wants. Some of the good generalities is that there's only a couple software where you can write these itemized estimates, which means that most estimators use the same software, and thankfully there is the same price lists. Every couple months the price list gets updated, so you guys should be working with the same numbers. But with that being said, there's simply, hey, give you that number difference is one example of what we deal with, but just also as another example to maybe make it clear is like, think about when the hurricane hit. You have independent adjusters that are going out visiting four times the number of houses they normally would. turning and burning these situations, right? It's impossible for them to catch everything. It's impossible for them to write the claim up properly because they're just going through these as quickly as they can. With us, I mean, yes, we're busy, but with that being said, we still take time to re-review everything, make sure that everything should be as it is, and we find these whopping differences of scope. So what we have to do is we've got to come in and try to get these clients the right amount of money.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was going to ask you about is the difference because most people, with dealing with insurance, like me, for example, after Irma, I called my insurance company, they sent somebody out. So the difference between you and those people that the insurance companies are just sending out is that you're going to do more of an in-depth analysis to get those people more money in return for the damage that they had versus us dealing directly with the insurance company. They're more than likely going to lowball you. You get an estimate on your roof's a lot more than what they were going to offer you. You got to go back to the insurance company. So are you basically getting all that out of the way right up front so they don't have to go do the back and forth?
Yes and no. We handle the back and forth for them.
Okay.
The
Okay.
carrier is still going to play this game. It's just that we will serve and lead as opposed to the homeowners and policyholders being the line of communication with the carrier. It's a lot more than just the estimate, though. That is just one part of it. But yeah, we will basically provide the carrier with the right itemized line items for everything. Where we go with that is the expertise of the thousands of claims that we've worked on versus a homeowner that's been through this once or twice in their lifetime, maybe.
Mhm.
Thinking about the fact that the insurance adjuster, if they've been in the field for a couple of few years or longer, they're also at 1,000+ claims, so they've got a tremendous amount of experience. But very specifically, the insurance policies say what you can do if you disagree with the carrier. Like I said in the beginning, it's that we represent clients within the confines of the policy. And if that fails, then clients have to go to an attorney where they're represented within the courtroom and they can have a jury decide the outcome. But it's a few processes. There's actually not many. The policies are going to hold for mediation as a possibility. They're going to hold for appraisal as a possibility, or they're going to hold for litigation as a possibility. So we probably settle, and I don't know if it's the whole industry, but as a whole, our company probably settles a third of our claims with the adjuster. A good 2/3 of our claims have to go to a next process, have to go to mediation or appraisal or litigation, something like that. It's only a third of the time can we actually get the carrier to offer a number in that realm of fairness without saying, hey, come on, without filing for mediation or invoking appraisal or something along these lines. The insurance companies, what we've realized is that it's a culture, is that there's a small handful out there where their culture is let's just pay these fairly. Let's not be sued. You may or may not get every dollar, but I mean, like in that realm, they're going to give you a number in that realm where you don't have to go crazy, right? But I would say 80% of companies out there, their whole culture is just let's minimize our losses. Let's delay this so we don't have to pay as long. I've seen crazy stuff like adjusters even saying that some companies, their whole thing is they would deny every claim the first time around and make you fight. Beyond that, knowing which way to navigate is very, very important. Like which process to do at the right time, because sometimes these insurance companies simply they just don't give you any recourse other than it's like we have clients that we put bids together, rightful numbers at say $50,000, and the insurance company is not paying more than 10 grand. We had a reinspection. Like I'm thinking of a case here. We had our estimate was 50. They were at 10. They reinspected. They said, "Okay, you're right. We owe some more money." It was $126 more. It was an insult. It was a whole insult to the client. I would say that we are rarely only doubling and tripling what insurance companies wanted to pay you the first time around. Rarely is it only that. If a carrier doesn't want to pay you, it's more of a 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 percentile jump. But it's culture. And I'd say that's actually one of the first questions that we ask any prospect is, who's your carrier? That's going to tell me almost off the bat if I'm going to be able to help you or not, because I've just seen the same companies do the same things over time. And so that's helped us with determining who we should take to mediation, who we should invoke appraisal on, who might need to go to litigation. And so it's been very successful. At least knowing these companies has been successful in with our clients of knowing where to take them.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, I've seen with people that like some people I know that they were fighting with insurance companies. I'll use Irma, Hurricane Irma as an example. They were fighting with the insurance company 2-3 years later,
Mm-hmm.
and then they finally got them settlement and so on, which is insane. Thank God, like with me, I had a good insurance company. They came out right away. I think I was the first stop out of all the houses too. Shout out to Frontline Insurance, but they did very good, and there was no issues. And they obviously, without having an adjuster, they kind of lowballed me initially on the roof estimate because I did need a new roof. And then they came after I called them and talked to them. There was no issues, no argument, anything. They sent me a check for the extra amount, just made sure,
It took 2 visits.
too.
But
Yeah.
it took the second visit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was the thing. Yeah. It took 2 of them to get it done correctly and so on. And, obviously with me having connections with roofers and so on, being in construction still, but, it was just, I felt bad for some people because I know the battles they were going through and so on. And some of them had unbelievable, because we got hit head on down here.
Mhm.
It was we were the first place they hit on in Marco Island and then Naples. So it was crazy time.
But even after that happened, the adjuster still, at first glance, didn't want to pay for the re-roof when the whole area is devastated, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, as you know too, I'm trying to start my own podcast that I'm trying to help people out, give advice, and it's circumstances like yours where if we can help someone give a piece of advice or not without needing our full representation, that's amazing. That's fantastic. It's like you're saying, some people that don't have the construction experience or the background to handle communicating with the carrier, that's what we're here for.
Which is a lot of people, which is
There's a
a
lot.
majority of people, and they don't know what to do. But then that's also how they get taken advantage of too. I mean, I don't know how many storm chasers were knocking on doors around here, and me being a contractor, I'd mess with them because they'd come up, they had their fresh printed shirts on, and it says A1 something roofing, and you've never heard of these companies. And
Yeah.
me being in the area and familiar with the area, I know who the roofers are, who the ones that have been here forever, who the handymen are, and so on. And these guys walk up with their clipboards, act all professional, say, "Hey, we'll do a free home consultation, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Who do you work with?" And they're like, "Oh, I work with this company." So you license? Well, I'm a local contractor, and then they kind of just back away, and
Hmm.
then they're out of there, because it was just, it's unbelievable, man. And you feel bad for people because a lot of people get taken advantage. That's what those people do. They chase the storms, and then we have a lot of older people here in Florida too that they don't know any better, you know.
Yeah, there was a lot of court rulings lately to help homeowners out. I mean, a lot of those roofing companies, contracting companies, they have these assignment of benefit forms, contract signed, which the state has really come down on now. They really, and it sounds so good to be true for homeowners that don't know any better. Oh, you're gonna get my stuff paid for. I just got to pay you my deductible, and that's it. And next thing you know, they pay the deductible. There's the roof, things are not fixed properly because the roofer or contractor can't negotiate properly for it, and it just becomes a mess. In fact, we do a lot of cleanup for those homeowners that didn't get the right amount
Yeah, yeah, it's
there.
like we just talked about. It's unfortunate. And one thing too, I wanted to ask you. So, just so people know, and this is a little off the script here, but as far as paying, how do you guys? Because this is what people are going to ask. How do you get paid? Do you get paid by the insurance company? Because that's one thing too. Obviously, paying you, people want to know where their money's going and so on.
We don't get paid by the carrier, but we do work on a contingency. It's a lot like an attorney. We get a percentage of the award if we've taken over. If a client has been denied or underpaid, then we will get a percentage of what we can collect for them after representation. We actually do prefer to come on in the very big. In fact, I like to be the first phone call after something happens. And that sounds a little bit crazy to people. It's like, well, my house is flooding right now, and you want me to call you first and not the company to dry it out? And I say yes, because I want to go for free. I want to go over your policy with you. And I want to tell you that it looks like your policy is going to cover someone to come dry it out, or tell you, no, it doesn't look like your policy is going to cover this. You're going to be on your own for the money. Wouldn't you like to know before picking up the phone to that company? Or, hey, your insurance is going to cover all of this, so that's fine to put a claim in. Or no, you've got this exclusion here and this limitation here. Wouldn't you like to know that? So I want to be the first call. I want to be that guy that's your expert. And if it's a simple situation with a good culture insurance company, I'm going to recommend don't even hire us yet. I'd recommend going on with the claim. But if it's a company that we're just used to dealing with and we know they will delay, then I'll just offer representation from the get-go. Sometimes I'll even offer just a discount to have us represent you from the beginning, as we talked about before. And that sign there says it shows some of the award increases, but on average, we're collecting someone like 600% more, 700% more than what they get on their own. So my invoice is actually going to be less if you hire us from the beginning. Many people don't see that. They think I've got insurance, so my insurance company is going to pay me for what they owe me, and most of the time that's just not correct. But yeah, I want to be that first call so that I can help out with all that. If we are retained, then we get a percentage of the net amount that the insurance company sends after deductible and things like that. And I mean, I'll say this is that our goal is that our clients are happy. And for that to take place, they have to come out of pocket zero to very little, even after our fee is paid and their home gets fixed. And I would say that we accomplish that an astronomical amount of the time, like 95% of the time, people are coming out of their pocket zero to very, very little, and their home is getting completely fixed, even after our fee is paid. So, I mean, that's all we want. I've had to in the past reduce my fee very few times, thankfully. I mean, I've made promises to people, like if they hire us from the beginning, I guarantee you that the amount that we're going to invoice you is less than the increase we get for you. There's no doubt about it. And I haven't had to give people discounts for that. But we're a fair company. And when we take on very large projects, I have been known to give a discount for that representation. So we're not greedy. We want to work on large and small claims, and we do charge accordingly.
Yeah, and that's the thing with insurance too. People are so hesitant with it, especially people after dealing with, and I keep referring to the state of Florida, but obviously anybody that's listening all throughout the country here, you can hire a public adjuster anywhere, and I highly recommend it for the reasons that you're saying too, because you get rid of a lot of the headache, that people are going to have to deal with other insurance companies and so on. I mean,
Nightmare. It's a nightmare for some people, yeah. And I will say, to clarify too, actually, public adjusters are not in every state. I've been licensed in 7 different states, and I think there's 43 that allow public adjusters. Florida is a huge one. I'm currently also licensed in Georgia. Been licensed in New York, New Jersey, Tennessee, North Carolina. And I would say that there's different laws per state to get your license, what we could do, what we could charge. I heard that in Chicago, you can, I think you could charge 30% on a contingency. Florida, the max amount adjusters can charge is 20%. You'll see a lot of them range between 15-20% on cases depending.
Yeah, that's interesting too. I wonder why it's only 43 states and not all.
Yeah, I mean, there is some that just don't allow it. It's interesting. State by state, all has their different laws.
Huh. And is it the percentage that you guys can receive based on how many claims typically happen? I mean, Chicago, winters, windy city, maybe, or I don't know. We have
You
hurricanes.
know, we have when there's not a hurricane, most of our claims are just accidental water losses. Yes, we have theft and fire and vandalism and these sprinkled things, but most of the time it's water. And up there, I would assume it's the same thing. Pipes are going to burst, sewer lines are going to back up, accidents will happen that'll continually go on. There's simply a large influx of claims when you do have a natural disaster. So yeah, I would say a lot still to go up there. I would doubt it has to do with the number of claims and more with the state lobbyists for the adjusters. I'd say the state lobbyists in Florida for insurance companies have been doing good the last 10 years because when I was an adjuster, things were very different law wise. And then in 2011 ish, things really started to favor insurance companies. So I would just say that has to do with perhaps, and this is a total guess, but more of lobbyists.
Well, going off of that too, so let's discuss different insurance claims and how you can help with them. So let's start out with some residential claims that you've seen in that phase.
Right, absolutely. And residential would be anything from a single family residence to a manufactured home to an apartment, any actual residence home. Different properties do have different policies, so you'll find different coverages. And here's an example of what I mean. A townhouse that's attached to something, or condo attached to something, a villa attached to something. All of those policies will differ from a single family residence policy. A single family residence is known as an all lines policy. Here's the cool thing about that is if you've got a list of coverages and then you've got your list of exclusions, if it's not in any of those, if it's somewhere in the middle, then your insurance company still has to cover it. In every other policy, whatever happens has to be a covered item. And if it's not, then the carrier doesn't have to pay for it. It's a very interesting little caveat there with the all lines policies. So the type of losses that we deal with have ranged from sinkholes. We are experts in sinkhole claims. We've done so many of them. Wind claims to properties. We've done so many that we're experts. We have a tremendous amount of water claims to homes, and that is pipe accidental pipe leaks, pipe bursts, air conditioner leaks, air conditioner malfunctions, things of that nature. We see a lot of appliance breakdowns. I think for people that are listening or that they'll play this, something to really keep in mind is the crux, where the rubber meets the road on coverage, is how something got damaged. Oh, there's water in the walls. Is it covered? I don't know. How did the water get there? There's water on the floor. Is it covered? I don't know. How did it get there? Well, the dishwasher flooded and caused the kitchen to flood. Well, why did the dishwasher flood? Was it a malfunction, or did it suddenly and accidentally have a breakdown? That's the crux of it. So clients will need a professional to determine sometimes what caused it. So like I said, dishwasher floods the kitchen. We had a client this wasn't an all lines policy, it was a townhouse where her dishwasher, she thought her dishwasher flooded her kitchen, and then she had hardwood floors in the kitchen that led into the dining room and then into the bedroom. So it all kind of had some minor damage there. She had a plumbing repair person come out who said, oh no, it's not the dishwasher. Dishwasher is fine. We started to investigate that. We could not figure out what it was from. We were looking in the walls behind the bathroom. We were in the kitchen. We were looking to the fridge. We were looking to the sink. Nothing was leaking. And so then we had to have an expert come out who did another test and simply said, yes, it is the dishwasher. Look right here where the supply line is broken and now it's spewing water. Well, thank goodness that's what it was, because that's covered. So if it were something that was, no, this is just over time, this is getting worn and it's leaking little bit by little bit, there's no coverage for that. But she did have coverage, this particular homeowner, for an accidental damage to the dishwasher. So prove that, and then the whole kitchen got covered, and then all the floors got covered, and it was fantastic. So what we did as an example for that client is help with all the investigating to help get the claim paid for instead of just leaving it to someone else, leaving it to a carrier who, let's just say it, they don't want to pay your claim. They'd rather not pay your claim if they had the choice to it. So we help with that. So it's residential in all circumstances, like I said, condos and townhouses and villas. And then we also handle commercial properties. So, I mean, if you think about, I'll give you an example for a case in Clearwater where under some newer recent storms, not Irma, but I think a year after, there was something that came by and damaged a flat roof. And so that flat roof was a 3-story condo, and water entered into the third unit on top, and then entered into the second unit, and then even into the first at the very end of the condo association. So you have individual unit owners that have an insurance on their property, and then you've got the association's policy. And here's the interesting part about that is that most of the time, the association is going to cover the drywall or whatever material is in between the unit and the building, the shared common elements, and then the unit owner is responsible for the actual texture and paint. So interesting how they share in this responsibility. The insurance company for the unit owner would cover the floors, would cover any walls, baseboards, things like that, but not drywall. Only the texture and paint for the inside. But what we have to do is we have to separate. We have to do one itemized estimate. If the homeowner hires us, in this particular case I'm thinking about, we were hired by the association to try to get them a new flat roof and all the interior that they're responsible for. And then the individual unit homeowner, the condo unit owner, hired us for their floors, things like that. We had a dry out expense. So you've got 2 policies covering 2 different things, but we have experience to handle both sides of it. I'd say it works out a lot better when you do just have one company handling both as well, because it can get very complicated and convoluted. But we handle commercial property like condos and like associations. We had in your neck of the woods in Naples. Well, I think it's its own little community right next to Naples, but it's the Montebello area. And they had a 10-building association claim from Irma that they were offered $0, saying your damage is $126,000 for everything. We successfully got the carrier to admit $1.5 million of coverage, which was about $1.3 million of a payment after the $1.2 million after the deductible. No individual unit owners in that one. That was just one policy that covered everything. So that was a lot easier for us, but we handle large accounts like that as well, where the issue was like everything else. The carrier wanted to pay for a repair when they should have paid for a replacement. And we're simply arguing that no, you have to replace these items. And then the last type of, we do business insurance claims also, which is so important right now with the pandemic. I've handled a lot, and we have handled in our company a lot of business interruption losses where malpractice to convenience stores comes to the top of my head. Vandalism and theft at convenience stores, and that led to business interruption. We've had a fire that damaged, it was half of a daycare. Luckily, nobody was there, but that stopped the business for a little while. So the important part is to have a baseline for what your company made or makes, and then how did that get changed and adjusted. So a lot of paperwork. But what's super topical right now is the pandemic, and our company has luckily been given a tremendous amount of insight by a lot of attorneys that we work with on what language needs to be in there to find coverage. we are all assuming that every claim will be denied on business interruption for this pandemic. And we know that when policies renew, they're going to start adding specific language to make sure they're excluded, because they're not at the moment. There are certain languages and a lot of language that we think is going to find coverage. So we're actually saying to businesses now, send us your policy. Let us look at it. Let's see if the language is in there where they should pay for it. And then we can help with that. So we do handle everything from residential to commercial to business. And it's not even just business interruption. If you've got like the large convenience store that we handled, they had merchandise stolen, they had damage to the unit. So it's an all-in-one type of representation.
So go into that a little bit more, because it's so important right now with the pandemic and everything, and there's still, though Florida is getting back to a little bit of normalcy. Let's what are you seeing, and what can people, as far as insurance claims and so on, what are you seeing as far as this whole pandemic, and what can people you know go for after insurance and so on, just so they know that
Yeah.
with the businesses.
You've got specific coverages to the policies. There's going to be, depending on your policy, coverage for building, coverage for contents, but you're going to have a coverage for a loss of use.
Okay.
And that loss of use is going to have its own limitation. Some of the good news that we've been presented is that there might be language that allows for the limitations to be lifted and actually won't have a limit on what the carrier would have to pay back in certain circumstances, or at least raise what was there. But yes, it is through if your business had to shut down for a certain period of time and you lost money, if your business simply isn't making as much as it used to. I mean, for some businesses, 1 month could be 100 grand that they lose out on it. So it could be could be 5 grand, could be 10. It could be all that they need to go under, right? And so that's what policies are for. There's no doubt that with this pandemic, the carriers are going to put up a very solid denial front, because when they start opening up the can, they have to open it up. But our team, the attorneys that we work with, we are teaming up to get this done. It's if there's no coverage, there's no coverage. We can't do anything about it. But there's an interpretation of the language here. And that's really what our disagreements boil down to, is interpreting what this policy language means. My conversations with adjusters, my negotiations with these inside adjusters all the time is interpreting what should be paid for. But that's what we see. We see the possibility of a lot of clients, a lot of companies getting paid through this time. It will take a fight. There's no doubt. This won't be a laydown. But we're putting in the energy, and I know attorneys are too, because we see an outcome here where clients should be paid because of how we're interpreting the policy.
No, and it's worth the fight 100%. I mean, what you just said is so huge right there, and I'm definitely gonna make a clip out of that one right there too, for people, because a lot of people probably don't know that, and then unfortunately they had to shut their doors, and they probably lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, think of the gyms, think of the restaurants, think of these. Fortunately, as a construction person, we were able to still operate here in Florida, but we lost some business as far as people thinking about building in other areas too. But you think of these small businesses or clothing stores and so on that were forced to shut their doors because of this, and they should get some kind of money. And I know, obviously, insurance companies are probably bracing for a fight, but then, after what you just said, people 100% should hire somebody like you and an attorney to get what they rightfully deserve, or what they could have made, at least make up in that period of time we were shut down too.
The insurance companies, this is not exactly a secret. They're not losing money by paying claims. They've got enough.
Yeah, plenty.
They've got plenty. So for claims that we think they should be paying on, we do. We fight hard for the clients.
Yeah, that's something everybody should definitely 100% look into. I mean, that right there was really helpful. So that was awesome. So you've said your team of experts have been helping residents in Florida to recover money. that they could not obtain on their own. So you brushed on this. How are you doing this? Let's use hurricane. Let's just so people know. Let's use
Mhm.
Hurricane Irma as an example. But like I said to the listener, obviously there's natural disasters and stuff going on everywhere throughout this country. But let's just use Irma as an example.
So if we use Irma as an example. What we saw a little bit again was these independents going and just turning and burning these claims, and they do 10 in a day, and you really cannot properly diagnose the right repair method if you're just trying to get to the next appointment. So what we see a lot of is, oh yeah, this I've got my bid here. This guy says it's going to be $3,000 to repair this and that, but they missed that, and they they missed that. And we'll come in, we'll do a free inspection and consultation. We'll look at if it's still damaged, what it should have been to fix it. If it's been repaired, then we'll look at if the repair method is good, if it's temporary, and what that cost was. And sometimes we will take the cost for that and then do a whole new estimate because it was just a temporary fix. It still needs to be fixed properly. But once we provide that scope, that estimate to the carrier, then we give the carrier an opportunity to make good. We're not a company that's like, okay, we're gonna put our estimate in and then we're gonna sue. And then maybe that's not we want to put as much effort that we can in, and we want to give the carrier a chance to make good. Fortunately, unfortunately, a third of the time that happens where they make good right off the bat. So then it's us deciding, okay, well, we've gotten them to come up X amount. Now where do we go from there? So with a Irma case, what we see a lot of is we see a lot of underpayments for roofs. We see a lot of underpayments for things like windows and doors that have been compromised. Some companies just have a method and procedure as an example of paying for one paint of coat. No matter what, they'll pay for one paint of coat. And just doesn't work that way a lot of times. One coat's not going to make it look like what it was supposed to be before. And that's what we have to remember. What the policy is supposed to do is bring you to a pre-loss condition. Whatever it takes, it should bring you to a pre-loss condition. There's even parts of your policy that's called law and ordinance. So law and ordinance is offered to every policy, and most people take it. It's 25% of your coverage age. So if your building is $500,000, 500 grand of coverage, then you're going to have $125,000 of law and ordinance. And what that's for is code upgrades. Hey, since you bought the house, if now those windows, you have to put in new ones because that's the upgrade, it's an additional 30 grand. That's what your law and ordinance is for, to pay for that. So to bring you back to a legal pre-loss condition. That makes sense, right? But that pre-loss condition that we talked before, it have a huge variance of what people think it's going to cost to bring you back. And then there's it's close. It's close to what but it's not the same. And so there's a huge dollar difference sometimes and close to the exact same. With that being said, we also just run into, like I said, roof repairs instead of roof replacements. And there are statutes that are really in favor of Floridians. Florida does have good general contracting roof statutes. Like there's these AOB laws now that are protecting homeowners from contractors that have AOB's assignment of benefits that are not in favor of homeowners. So that's going to be a lot of these repairs when they should have been replacements. And that's where you run into some huge differences. Sometimes if water leaks down from your roof into your kitchen and you see it getting behind something, I see a carrier a lot of the times will pay to remove and reset a cabinet, remove and reset a countertop. And you in construction bill, to remove and reset something that's been there for maybe 20 years is going to be a little bit difficult. But the carrier is only willing to pay that, so we have to fight to get the right amount because, gosh, it can be so difficult for clients. I mean, if you don't have money to fix it yourself, then a carrier comes and says, no, you can just remove and reset that stuff. Here's $4 grand for everything. No, but my GC says it's going to be 30 grand. He says, there's no way I can, he said, I have to replace that. Well, you have to do show us that it was damaged. I can't start the repairs without the money. What am I supposed to do? And it's this, people are in a hole where if they could start the repairs and show the insurance company, yeah, look, they took it out, but it broke as soon as we took it out, then you can go back. So it's through timing and circumstance that people can really get behind the eight ball with things. And so what we'll do is we simply fight and negotiate with the insurance adjusters or the mediation adjusters or the appraiser that the right method here is to replace. We do it through proper negotiating and just proving things. Because of that, there have in our numbers range, but on average, when you have a hurricane-related loss, our average award increase is like 700-800%. It's astronomical because we are taking roofs that are being given a couple few thousand that should be $60, $70, $80,000 of payments, and so you do have these huge award jumps. But that even happens with the kitchen. That happens with the floors if they just want to replace a few boards and not the whole house, which they should. So we see these ridiculous differences. And even if you don't have a hurricane, there's an average award increase is a little bit less. It's like 600%.
Yeah, and I mean, your key thing out of the whole thing is bring people to a pre-loss condition. So a lot of people don't really go into it thinking that, and these insurance companies come back at them, like you said, where they're like, "Oh, we'll partially fix it, and it'll be fine." Well, a partial fix, being in construction is never a permanent fix. It's just let's put a Band-Aid on it, and that's what they're doing. Let's put a Band-Aid on it and give them the least amount of money that we possibly can, and we'll move on, chalk it up as this guy's done, and good luck. And then the cabinet falls in later on after all the whatever it's made out of the box or the particle board of the milling starts folding in from all the water damage. So
I say too, where it gets real insulting in that that example is like when you call the carrier back and you say, this is not working. Well, what do you mean? We paid it out properly. We gave you what our estimator thought it was going to be. No, he was way wrong, and you'd have to restart it. So it's always, oh no, we paid what it was supposed to, because they're blaming the adjuster for not putting it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, even with the roof example too, we can partially fix your roof and replace a couple shingles or tiles, and you'll be fine. But then, what people don't understand too is, okay, where those tiles were removed, what's going on with the underlayment? What was really damaged? The underlayment's what actually keeps the roof secure and from flooding and from water coming in. That's the main important part. The tile's more cosmetic than anything. So
more cosmetic. And then if you look at it that way too, though, is if you've got tiles that don't match, then you have a devaluation of the property.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what we deal with also, because we have these nice naval communities, and that's people want everything to match, and it has to be new and it has to be the same. And if it doesn't, it's devalued. So these companies not only get people, sometimes short people, but they also get the property devalued because it's not the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the tile not matching too. That's almost guaranteed, because here, as you know, the sun beats up and colors too. So if they put a couple new tiles on, you're going to see them. I drive around here and I see a couple houses that replace tiles, and one's super light gray, and then the other ones are dark gray. Well, you can tell that happened over. They just did a quick replace, and that was it. So it's crazy. But one cool thing I read on your website that, a new study, or me and you talked about this, it's not so new, but I'm sure the numbers are still there.
Yeah.
By a state agency found that policyholders using a public adjuster to help them settle a claim with Citizens Property Insurance received higher settlements, an estimated $9,379 per claim versus $1,391 so that's 574% difference. than those working with only the company staff adjuster. So let's talk. I mean, we talked about this, but I want to talk about how this more, because how important you guys are in getting people more money after insurance claims.
This study was done just on Citizens clients,
Hmm.
and it was done Citizens as a state agency. Interesting about Citizens is that you actually cannot sue Citizens for bad faith because they are a state agency. So you have to work with them as best you can. And they simply have so many clients in Florida. It was a really, really good representation of what goes on during these claims. So these differences are absolutely real, but they are not our limit. We talked again briefly the fact that it's on our website. We had a claim that we got a client, 3,000, 3,400% more than what their insurance company wanted to give them. But we are rarely only doubling and tripling the awards that we get for people. Um, it was so great that it was a state agency that did this report, though. This wasn't like a public adjuster company found, but this is what the state came up with. And then when we look back at our numbers, and we keep track of everything, these are literally the averages. That if it's a hurricane claim, that on average we're getting people like 700% more. And if it's a daily claim, water, fire, theft, things like that, it's closer to 600% more on average than what insurance companies want to give. And also it is culture. It's the same companies over and over again that are underpaying. Um, it makes it easier and easier for us to figure out what to do because they're doing kind of the same thing over and over again. And yeah, there's changes in their protocol. Here's an interesting thing too, as an insight, is that part of the policies, like I said, had mediation, appraisal, and litigation as options. So appraisal is this process where we act as your appraiser, or we have to name someone to act as your appraiser. The insurance company names someone to act as their appraiser, and the two parties simply meet at the property like adjusters would, but they're appraising the value of the damage instead of appraising the value of the house. If the two of them cannot figure it out together, then they're going to call in this neutral third party referred to as an umpire. That umpire is going to say, oh, you're right here, you're right there, here's the right number, and that's it. So appraisal is a binding process. Whatever happens there, that's it. You actually can't go back and sue. Because it's binding, the carriers have to pay it if it's awarded property. As public adjusters, our only options besides litigation are mediation and appraisal. So that's what we do all the time. Adjuster, mediate, appraisal. Okay, if none of those work, then we have to go, but we do these steps first. The insurance companies, specifically Citizens, started to lose so much money in appraisal. What they did, this was about 8 years ago, they put into their policy language, it said that if we disagree with them, you can request an appraisal. For years and years and years, it always said demand. So if we demanded appraisal, the carrier had to go to it. So Citizens was the first. They took the word demand out, put the word request in. So when we would request appraisal, they would send a letter back, oh, no, appraisal's not appropriate at this time, sorry. They couldn't figure out, though, that clients would be left with no other option than to mediate or litigate. And if mediation didn't work, they'd have to litigate. So fast forward like 2 years from when they started putting the request in, they started to lose so much money in court, they put the word demand back in. So now if you look at Citizens policies, you'll see like 80% say demand, 20% say request, and it's so funny. It's like the big bully in school, and then all the little bullies start to follow. You saw all these other insurance companies that started changing it to request as well. Same thing happens, is that they start to lose more money in suit. And so now what you have is carriers invoking appraisal on us all the time so that it doesn't go to suit. If they can stop it at appraisal, they don't lose what they're going to lose in litigation. So now it's this big mix of request and demand, and maybe we can go to appraisal, maybe we can't. And I would say most of the time we're having to battle with these changes. But it is super interesting what the carriers are just trying to do and get away with. Um, and as a final note to that, just that thought is that clients ask me all the time, how can they get away with this? How can they get away with not paying and this and that and the other? And really, there's no law enforcement that are looking at every claim here. The state, the Department of Financial Services relies on homeowners to file complaints when things are going badly. Those are called things like civil remedy notices. They rely on things like that. So without holding their feet to the fire, they can get away with things that maybe they shouldn't be.
Yeah, and I mean they got so much money, they're able to do it too. I mean that's the bigger picture of it all too. The insurance companies have so much money they can do what they want to do or try and get away with what they want to do. Plain and simple.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Those lobbyists, those insurance company lobbyists were able to get some heavy changes in favor of insurance companies, like around 11 or so. Um, Thankfully, the state still has their AOB type of lookout for policy holders in that capacity. But yeah, though the money is rampant, it's very clear.
It's crazy. Just real quick, I wanted to brush on this one. So, because obviously the show is more about construction and real estate, I'm going to skip the real estate related one because it's so broad. But what insurance claims are common that someone needs to hire a public adjuster, let's say with building? Let's start there and then we'll go to the next one.
Yeah, the most common element that we deal with is water. I mean,
Okay.
that's plain. Yeah, we do have a few fire claims and we have a few sinkhole claims still. But when it comes to a real estate related building or rentals or things of that, with that being said, I'm remembering cases now that are not water. Like we've handled plenty of vandalism, and it's interesting too when it comes to rentals that how the renter leaves the position of the place can sometimes be, oh, they didn't do a good job, or it could be, well, they kind of vandalized the place a little bit. There's holes here, and there's and we've successfully been able to get landlords money they didn't think they were going to get based upon a vandalism claim because they just didn't look at it in that capacity. It was a different perspective. And when it comes to building, we've had we've had a few of these where like cars have ran into garages, into the building or into the condo or into the rental. It's very interesting. Right through it. But most of the time is that we're going to see these plumbing leaks, we're going to see these air conditioner leaks, things of that nature.
What about construction related during construction process?
We've had a few construction process claims because the insurance is very different for coverages for what is there. Um, but no, the majority is after that's been built. We certainly can handle anything pre. And two, what we've really been rampant on over the last, I'd say, 2 years is working on these claims not for the actual policyholder. So, as an example, a construction company hires a plumbing company to put in all the plumbing in this building, and the plumbing company completely screws up.
Mm.
Well, that's not, that's on the plumbing company's insurance or the contractor's insurance that hired him. So, as an example, we have a hotel that we're representing in the new Tampa area that a plumber admitted to the GC, yeah, I did this pipe wrong and this, that, and the other, and it led to like 30 grand worth of damage. So it went through not the hotel's insurance, but the contractor's insurance, and we are representing the hotel with that. So it's an interesting mix. We're really glad we've been able to do that too. And the insurance companies, like as long as the plumber or GC admit damage, that carrier it out and working a negotiation out.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, you like, and I can tell with you just with all these questions too. I mean, and that's why I want to go to the next one as well. I mean, you just want to help people, and you have a passion to do so too. And I can definitely tell by your answers on here too. You're not shortening. Your answers aren't short at all. You really want to give information to help people. And I can only imagine somebody that hires you or you do your free consultation with them or whatever, how much more information they can get about a problem. So I mean, and through this whole thing too, I've learned so much as far as public adjusters, and have a more appreciation for what you're doing, because now if I ever have an issue, obviously I'll be reaching out. So
We help.
yeah, that's for sure. And that's why I wanted to get into the next question too. So yeah, obviously with business, core values are so important. I'm personally in our group called the Arte Syndicate, where they preach. It's ran by Andy Frisilla. I've talked about this on past podcasts, and Ed Milet, where they preach core values and how important they are for a business. So yours are community, honesty, accountability, and integrity. So just explain these a little bit.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. What I'm most happy about is that it's our team that came up with these. It wasn't just me. Um, I would say a big thank you to the networking group that I'm a part of, BNI, for introducing their core values and literally getting that thought process going of, yeah, our company should have core values. And who should we share these with? Every client prospect, every client, every referral partner, everyone we come in contact with. We want, in every possible employee. We share these with everyone because we want people that work on our team to all be like-minded. You have to be. We have to be focused on the community. We have to be honest about everything. And I mean, our expertise is in wordsmithing things. When we're giving clients advice, as an example, if they have to do a recorded statement, insurance companies have the right to say, hey, you got to do this recorded statement now. What? It's going to be recorded? No, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. And we'll go. And I say, listen, you're going to be honest with them. It's going to take 15 minutes. You're going to be completely honest. You're going to say things like, if you don't know the answer, that you don't know the answer. And don't be afraid to say you don't know the answer. It's little things like that, but you have to still be straight. It's just a matter of being professional when you're doing that. And accountability, we all can't do everything, right? So we build up as much as we can. I think that a really great mentor of mine used to, perhaps I didn't follow through on one assignment for that week or that month, and I would get really mad. Not mad, I would get upset or disappointed with myself. And he would say, listen, your cloak of accountability that you've built up is gonna be able to take this one little hit. But I think what's really cool about that is that it's, besides for like holding ourselves accountable to our clients or our prospects or our referral partners, what's super cool is we can hold ourselves accountable to ourselves. And then whatever it's called, serotonin or whatever that happiness thing that we feel when we accomplish something, if we just, hey, by 4 o'clock, I want to make sure that I get this podcast posted or whatever that is, right? And then when that gets accomplished, you just have that release for yourself. You can do that all day for yourself. So it's kind of like a little cheat. All right. So I can make myself feel good just by being accountable to myself. But we translate that into our clients. And then there's integrity. I mean, we had community, honesty, and accountability in the first 2 minutes as a company. That was easy for us. And then we threw around 20 more different words to try to come up with integrity. We like to think about it, and I like to think about it as every decision that we make is done fairly, is thought about all sides. We deal with people in all sorts of fields that we can tell their goal is to get everything they can out of their clients. How can I maximize my income from you? And that's not how we look at it. We look at it as, how do we get our clients in the best position? Like, no matter what we make on it doesn't matter. It's the integrity for just doing our job. And I also like to convey to everyone in the company, we all share in this, is that say a $10,000 claim that we're working on should get as much attention as the $1 million claim. We like everyone to be equal in terms of clients. And I will say that I spend a tremendous amount of time on the phone with certain clients that need me to hold their hand. And maybe we're making this much on it, but it doesn't matter, because it'll come around somewhere else financially. We have to do our job by communicating things properly to clients, and that's just it. And I say that it gets easier and easier to do these things once we practice it and have it habitually. And we talk about it every week. We have every Monday at 4:30 we have a team call. The fourth Friday of every month we have team training, and we're constantly going over this to make sure that we're all still having the same culture. And that's another thing too that I think I would just like to thank BNI for, is the culture that it provided. Like it would, Dr. Meisner would say things like, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And we do strategize, but I know exactly what he's talking about, because it's just a matter of everybody on the team sharing in the same core values, then our culture is good. And if our culture is good, it means we're going to make fair decisions. We're going to think about things the right way. I've been really blessed to have some really cool people come my way through referrals. So we've got, our team is made up of 10, 9 adjusters or apprentices and an office manager. Our goal is to get to 30 in the next 5 years, 5 to 10. I'd like 5. And that's going to try to be all over the state of Florida. And we're going to spread the same core values. But we're growing slowly to make sure that people that come on have and share in the same culture.
Well, company culture, like you said, is so huge too. If you don't have a good company culture, you're not going to be able to maintain your employees. But what I liked about what you just said too, as far as your core values, is you allowed everybody within your company to help select them. So that has to do with company culture right there. I mean, most people, not most, but some people that'll hear about, all right, I need to set core values. They just do it themselves. You actually brought your employees in and said, hey guys, I want to make a set of core values that we're all going to abide by and live by with this company. Let's go over them and let's make them together. And that's huge, because you're bringing everybody else together within the company, and creating that camaraderie, and just, and it's so important within a business and that's how you maintain employees and keep them from going somewhere else, because as you know, they all have options where they can, if they don't like what they're doing, they're going to go somewhere else, or if they don't like the atmosphere of their environment, or their boss, they're going to end up going somewhere else. So it's so important to create that, and you're doing obviously an amazing job at it. So
Well, thank you for that. I mean, I was with an adjusting firm that I would just say did it the wrong way. Their culture was not in favor of adjusters. You see it from the top down, so to speak. So yeah, I did my own thing quickly, a couple years after, in fact. And when I bring on someone, it's a clear interview that I want them to grow with us forever. This will be hopefully the last thing that they do. So just trying to get that in the framework there, because I saw another presentation a while ago that was so awesome. Just super simple. Birds fly together for a reason, because they go 70% farther when they fly together. As humans, we simply go farther together. And so the bigger that we can have on our team, all helping, like it's not just one adjuster works on one claim, so one adjuster can work on another. We all share in the information and the expertise in it, so that we can help maximize it. Hey, have you tried doing this on that claim? So we're constantly just talking to each other about our claims, and all sharing in the responsibility of making sure that they all get maxed out, so that clients can get the right amount of money.
and it's like you said too, you brushed on it. It's not all about just the paycheck. Somebody comes in and they're just all about the money. It's not. Obviously in business we all want to make money, and that's important, but you also said something too that resonated with me, is that you'll teach them, okay, I'll sacrifice money to, I know, because it's going to circle around later on, that it's going to come back, and then I'll make more money later. And I'm a believer in that too, with as far as helping people with our company, or even if they don't build with us too, they choose a different builder because they're less money and they can't afford to go with us. Okay, I'll still help you, because later on down the road, business might get good. You might make some more money. You might be ready for that custom home and ready to build it. Well, who are they going to call? They're probably going to call the guy that helped them with their last home, even though we didn't build it, or answer those questions. And I've done that for people, or just gone above and beyond for other customers that were 5 years out of warranty with us and still went over to their house and checked out what was going on to see what the issue was and got somebody on it right away and so on. I just had a phone call with a guy that needs me to do something for his AC, and he's 5 years out of warranty, but he's going out of town. Can you meet an AC guy over at my house for the maintenance? Little things. I mean, they go so far. And it all circles back to as far as referrals and all this stuff. And everybody should be doing it in business and teaching your employees to do it too. Because everybody comes into business, your employees obviously want to make money, but I've preached on it multiple times. You have to face more of a long-term battle to make the money come. Nothing is short-term. You're not going to make money overnight. You have to go through the processes of doing things the right way, and it'll all circle back, like you said.
I think we get lucky too, because when we first do whatever we do, we have to take cases maybe that we normally wouldn't take, maybe too small, maybe too complicated, maybe not the right fit. But as we're at least able to start to pay all the bills, then you can focus on what you want to focus on. And then you get to the point like what you're talking about is you're helping out clients that maybe within the parameters of what you should be doing on paper, maybe they didn't qualify for it, but you feel good to go help them. And it's the same way with us. We'll do free inspections and give people some advice, and it just selfishly feels good to help another person out. I mean, we're preaching all the time that I think that changes too over time, like what your culture is and what you think we're here for changes. But my perspective on what we're here for, like you kind of pointed out in the beginning, your research is actually very good. And that's not just on my website there. So I am thankful for the research you put into this podcast interview, but I just want to help out as many people as I can. It makes me feel good. And yeah, there's times where we help ourselves out in our family, but yeah, I think that we are here to go farther together. I don't think we're here to be individualistic, which is a super weird thing with the pandemic right now. And I saw this vision of gyms with everything having its own plastic containers now. But I think we go farther together.
Well, as your company grows, you're going to grow, and then things are going to change with the growth of the company. So, I mean, it's typical. It happens, but you all have to have the same core values and mindset throughout the whole entire process. Most of the times your core values aren't going to change. They might alter a little bit, but
Yeah.
you're going to keep consistent with what your beliefs are in that aspect too, and just helping people along the way as much as you can is the most important thing, because it's all going to circle back, like we said. So, what about? I want to get into you personally, and this question, I've said this on every podcast. My favorite question that I've asked everybody, and it's huge because I get a different answer every time. So you have built an amazing company that continues to grow every single day. What lessons have you learned throughout your journey that we should all apply to our own business or lives that can help us grow? Deep question.
Oh, I've got an answer. I've got an answer because I've spent a lot of time thinking about the little stuff on how I can help, and that's a lot of what my future podcast is going to hold. And here's what I've learned is that when you're dealing with a subject matter that you're not an expert on, and a subject matter that you cannot become close to an expert on in a relatively short amount of time, go find an expert. Go do what you do and go find an expert to help with you. So in your case, as an example, with relates to adjusting, took one go around, you knew it wasn't the right number, so you set the ball in motion for another carrier. They saw what was going on and realized they couldn't deflect again and got you paid. I think you can translate that into anything. So use car accidents, same kind of thing. Anytime you're not, hey, I'm not an expert at podcasts. Can I become an expert at podcasts in 5 minutes, or should I consult someone like an expert like yourself, Bill? And you graciously took time out of your day to help me with that, and I've had other people that have taken time. So my thing is, if you want to do something, fix your house, do this, do that, become a this, become a that, and you can't become an expert on it, then find the experts that will help you.
Yeah, and that's I love that answer, and because people, you just have to learn to ask too. I mean, people are all out there willing to help. I just helped
To
somebody.
charge for a
Yeah,
little bit of
and
info.
not charge either. That's the thing. And I just helped somebody else. He called me, and it was off a friend of mine that mentors him, actually, Tony Wadley. But he called. Tony referred him to me because he's in the same industry as me as far as construction. He's been wanting to start a podcast, and he. That's the thing, is I'm willing to help. I'm willing to help as much as I can with anybody. I got helped with podcasting from a friend of mine, EJ Cruz. He was actually on my podcast, and I'm going to be on his if I could ever get over to the West Coast. He likes to do his in person,
Oh, cool.
but he helped me tremendously on how to set up, what to do, the right questions, the right things to go with. Some things I went a different direction because I found different sources to do so, but if you don't ask, you're not going to get the help. So don't be afraid to ask, because a lot of people are afraid. They think they're going to get rejected because everybody fears rejection. But let's be honest, most people in business that are doing good at business want to help. If they'll find the time to do it, and in our schedules, we're all busy, but I find time to do this along with you too. It's important to ask, man. I love that answer right there too.
I think too. Also, it's like when you've got what you want to do is be sincere and honest with yourself about the subject matter. So if it does turn out that like adjusting as an example, there are homeowners that feel on one end that they're going to handle it themselves, not because they're an expert and they can figure it out, but that because their carrier is going to treat them the right way. More of a misconception than anything. But then you've got clients that, you know what, I can become an expert on this. I'll just look up a few things and I'll be fine. Well, let's get real with a few topics. If you don't have any experience there, then you're not going to do yourself right. So I guess my caveat to point of that is be real with yourself and do, you know what, if I've got to hire someone to do something as that I can't do the best on my own, let's do that. I am not going to go even do a 5-10 minute do it yourself changing the fan in my house because I'm not the construction guy. Okay. I can fight for your money to get it, but I'm not replacing the fan. So I'm going to hire someone to do the fan every single time for safety for me and my family every single time. That's my point.
That's great. And I want to go to the next one just because of time. So
Yeah.
most people ask about your past, and we did that at the beginning, but I want to ask about your future. So, what are your plans for the future, whether it's business, life? Where will we see Andrew Gordan in the future? Who will you be?
I'm going to have a full hazmat suit on, which we do have two just in case, right? My the next 2 to 3 decades, I would like to set up my company and our company and anything else that I do so that I can retire. And I would like to grow reliable claims adjusting to 30 individuals over the next 5 or 10 years. And I mean, it doesn't really matter to me where geographically we are helping them. If it stays in Florida, fine. If it goes national, then that's fine too. I have tried to have claims in different states, and I had representatives there. But if we're not there training and being present, then it doesn't really work out. So that's why we do everything as local as we can and branch out so that we can sustain. So I see us growing to a large number. And then my vision is something like Godfather 2, where Michael is watching the grass grow and just thinking about life and what's transpired. And that's my vision. I just want to watch that grass grow when I'm 70 and play with my granddaughters and things of that nature. I've got 2 little girls that I spend a lot of time with, and it would bring me no more joy than to just grow up to watch them become women and then maybe have families one day where I can be the grandfather that gives them all the sugar.
Love it. Love it. And last question, this is what the show's all about. What exactly do people need to look for when hiring a public adjuster, and why should they choose Andrew Gordan and Reliable Claims Adjusting as their company of choice?
What a good question to finish with. You want to look at experience. You want to look at the type of claims that they have worked on. Not every adjuster is built the same, like we talked about. There's a test you have to take and an apprenticeship you have to go through. So the 6-month apprenticeship with one company is going to be super different than the 6-month with another. In fact, we hired someone just most recently that was with a company, a husband and wife, for 2 months. Like, I'm not getting any training. I'm not learning anything. So he came over to our company where we inundate him with training, and he's much, much happier. So you want to look at adjusting companies and what kind of claims they've worked on, how long they've been in the business. You don't want to necessarily go with I wouldn't go with the cheapest adjuster, because you'll find the worst adjuster. The firms that charge closer to the maximum limits simply know their value. So you actually want to go with something like that. It's not like I'm spending 300 versus 200. You're spending 20% versus 10%, but how much you're going to get from that adjuster is going to be astronomical from someone else if they're doing their job right. So those are the type of things. And look at the reviews. I mean, look at go to Google or go to the website for the adjusting company. And I'm always looking at different reviews. If there's one review or 2 reviews for the whole company on all the Google sites, well, I wouldn't use it as a baseline, but sometimes you see 20, 30, 40, 50 reviews. I mean, that's a good number to go with if they're all saying the same thing.
Awesome. Great information, Andrew. This has been unbelievable. I mean, a huge show filled with information that I think a lot of people needed to hear, because it's such a major, major topic that people face every single day. So, no, I really appreciate you coming on. Last thing, real quick, where can people find and connect with you?
Well, thank you so much, Bill. It was really nice. It's like a year or so in between podcasts. So hopefully it won't be that again. In between what I do with Sean Yesner. But they can find me. First of all, I'll give you my cell phone, which is area code 813-786-5771. And you can find us at reliableclaimsadjusting.com.
Awesome. Yeah, once again, man, this is unbelievable. Yeah, no, thank you. The information you gave, I personally learned a lot too, and that's huge. And I know that my audience is gonna love this episode as well. So I really appreciate it. And guys, thank you as always for listening. Last but not least, all I ask for, I don't advertise, I don't do anything like that. I just ask that you spread this, you share it, and also rate and review it. And I appreciate all the listeners out there, and I appreciate you as well, Andrew. So thank you. And I will see you guys on the next episode.